Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Geek with Glasses Live. Today, the highly controversial topic of iOS 4's multitasking features. I'm noticing a lot of traffic on the internet, whether it be on Twitter, comments on YouTube, as well as some blog postings that are out there, is a common theme that people are not claiming that multitasking is working on their iPhones. If you've done the upgrade to iOS 4 and you're using an iPhone 3GS or an iPhone 3G, if you're using an iPhone 3G, you're pretty much out of luck because you don't get multitasking due to the limitation of the hardware specifications. However, if you do have a 3GS and you've upgraded to the iOS 4, you may be noticing some of those apps are not working in the multitasking function that Steve Jobs talked about in his keynote. And I think one of the things that you need to keep in mind as a user and most likely a person who's got a lot of apps downloaded is that not all of those apps have been updated to support the new APIs that allow multitasking. So if you put yourself in the mindset of an iPhone developer, some of the large corporations like Evernote and Pandora and ESPN, they've got a team of developers who are working specifically programming applications for the iPhone as well as Android Marketplace and other devices. And they've got resources and bandwidth to go out there and make those apps multitask capable right now. They received the API, or what was called the Gold Master seed, on the 4th when I believe it was the 4th, don't quote me on the date, but when Steve Jobs announced that the final Gold Master was going to be available during the keynote speech, that was the last chance developers got to look at how the iOS 4.0's API infrastructure was going to work. And so they've had roughly 1 week to get those apps in compliance to take advantage of those multitasking APIs. So like I said, some of those bigger corporations and companies that are making their living doing nothing but programming apps, they've got a team of people that can go in and make those changes to enable multitasking on their apps. Now the problem is there's billions of apps out there, and like they say, there's an app for that. Well, there's not an app for making your apps multitask. So one of the things that you've got to keep in mind and be a little patient for is the myriad of developers. Most of the developers out there are independent developers, and they may be working on new projects. You know, let's say the developer of a cooking app that is a third-party app, and it's not sponsored by Epicurious or any of these major people that are doing recipe apps. It's just your lonely app developer who is spending the time with the development kit. They may be working on new projects, so they may be working on their next app right now. And now that they've released iOS 4.0 with the API changes, they've got to take time to step back and then modify the application that they currently have to allow the true multitasking features. One of the things that developers did off the get-go is when Apple announced the iPhone OS was not going to be a multitasking operating system, the developers decided to save the time, the energy, and the code and not program those apps to support multitask. So now they've got to go back and they've got to modify their existing code with the existing API. That takes a lot of research and a lot of testing. So if you keep an eye on your the App Store's update tab, you're probably going to start seeing more frequently over the next couple of weeks here, those apps are going to start being updated for iOS 4.0's API infrastructure that allows multitasking. So there's a couple of different things. If you go out and do a Google for iOS 4 tested, there are a myriad of apps that have been tested and that work fine on iOS 4, but they may not actually multitask. So in my previous video that I released a couple days back regarding how the iOS runs on the 3GS, I tried to do a demonstration of Pandora's multitasking, and it didn't work. Well, come to find out, Pandora hadn't been updated for multitasking yet. So now that it actually has been updated and there was a new version downloaded to my phone, multitasking on Pandora works fine. So one of the things you definitely want to keep in mind is as you go through, if those apps aren't working, the quick app switching or the physical multitasking is not working, you've got to keep in mind and keep in the back of your mind that apps are working on it, and the developers are working on it, and the apps are going to start showing up sooner or later. So keep that in mind. Some of the folks out there are saying that Apple isn't doing multitasking, it's not working properly, and Apple is definitely taking a different approach. They're only making certain components allow multitasking functions so that the entire app is not running in the background. And in a way, this is actually a good thing because it's going to help with battery drain. I know battery drain is a huge, huge problem right now, and I actually I'm in the process of editing a video that kind of gives a couple of battery tips, and one of those battery tips is definitely to shut down apps that you're not using. So if you load a game and you're done with that game, it's still running in the background. If you go back to your home screen, you need to go into your task manager and close that game out, because that game is technically running in the background. And if, per se, that game is actually something that goes out and accesses the internet, or whatever app it is that goes out and accesses the internet, let's say it's a WeatherBug app or a music streaming app, it's constantly connected online, and it's calling up your 802.11 if you're on a Wi-Fi, or it's sending and receiving signals over your 3G, which is another concern now that AT&T has put caps on data limits. So these are all things you want to definitely keep in mind, and just give it time. Your apps will be multitasking. They will happen. The updates are coming soon. I can't guarantee you when any of the apps will come out, but you got to remember, developers are working on it, and they've got to go back and slow down some of their current projects so that they can make the old projects and the old apps run properly. So that's it. I just wanted to give just a quick update and let folks know exactly how multitasking is working and what exactly is what to expect when it comes to your apps running iOS 4.0. So again, as always, please follow us up on Twitter, and that's twitter.com/geekwithglasses, and we'll see you coming up in the next video. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Bye-bye.